The city of Riverstone never truly slept. Even at night, lights from tall buildings reflected on wet roads, and the sound of traffic mixed with distant laughter from late-night cafes. For Lena Chen, the night was just another work shift. She adjusted her red helmet and tightened her grip on the pizza box balanced carefully in front of her scooter. Her uniform was slightly too big, but she wore it proudly. To Lena, this job meant independence. It meant she could pay rent, help her mother back in their hometown, and keep moving forward even when life felt heavy. Last delivery, she whispered to herself, checking the address on her phone. Rain began to fall, light at first, then heavier. Lena sighed but smiled anyway. She had learned not to complain. Complaining never paid bills. As she turned into a quieter street near the business district, a sudden loud crash echoed through the night. Lena hit the brakes. Up ahead, a metal advertising sign had fallen from a loose pole, smashing onto the sidewalk. Beneath it lay a man, half-covered, struggling to move. Without thinking, Lena parked her scooter and ran toward him. "Hey, are you okay?" she called out, rain soaking her hair and uniform. The man groaned softly. I think my leg is stuck." Lena dropped the pizza box carefully to the side. The sign was heavy, clearly not something she could lift easily, but she didn't hesitate. She looked around, no one else was nearby. "It's okay. I'm here," she said firmly, though her heart was pounding. She braced herself, pushing against the metal with all her strength. It barely moved. The man looked at her, surprised. Even through the rain and shadows, his eyes were calm, sharp, and strangely warm. "You don't have to," he began. "Yes, I do," Lena interrupted, teeth clenched. "You're hurt." She tried again, using her shoulder this time. The sign shifted just enough for the man to pull his leg free. He winced but managed to sit up. Lena exhaled in relief, nearly collapsing beside him. "Can you stand?" she asked. Slowly, the man nodded. With Lena's support, he rose to his feet. He was tall, dressed in a simple dark coat and white shirt, nothing flashy. But even soaked and injured, he carried himself with quiet confidence. "Thank you," he said sincerely. Most people would have walked away. Lena waved her hand. "Anyone would help." He smiled slightly. "Not everyone." She noticed a small cut on his forehead. "You're bleeding. You should see a doctor." "I will," he said. "What's your name?" "Lena," she replied, picking up her helmet. "I deliver pizza." The man chuckled softly. "I'm Ethan." "Nice to meet you, Ethan," she said, glancing at her scooter. "I should call emergency services, but, my delivery." Ethan followed her gaze to the pizza box. "You're working this late?" She nodded. "Bills don't wait." Something about her honesty struck him. In his world, boardrooms, contracts, polished smiles, people rarely spoke so simply. "I can handle the rest," Ethan said. "Please don't get in trouble because of me." Lena hesitated, then pulled out her phone and called for help anyway. She waited until sirens approached in the distance. "Okay," she said. "They're coming. Don't move too much." Before she could say more, her phone buzzed. The customer was calling again. She sighed. "I really have to go now." Ethan looked at her, rain sliding down his hair. "At least let me repay you." She shook her head. "No need. Just be careful next time." She picked up the pizza box, hopped onto her scooter, and waved goodbye before riding off into the rain. Ethan stood there watching her disappear, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. For the first time in years, someone had treated him not as CEO Lee of Lee Tech Group, not as a powerful man, but simply as a person who needed help. Later that night, in a private hospital room, Ethan stared at the city lights outside the window. His assistant stood nearby, worried. "Sir, the board meeting tomorrow." "Cancel it," Ethan said calmly. The assistant froze. "Sir." Ethan smiled faintly, thinking of a girl in a red helmet and oversized uniform. "I've just been reminded," he said, "that there's more to life than meetings." Meanwhile, Lena finally delivered the cold pizza, apologized sincerely, and returned home exhausted. As she lay on her small bed, she replayed the night in her mind. The accident. The rain. Ethan's eyes. She laughed softly. What a strange night. She had no idea that her simple act of kindness had just changed both their lives forever. Morning sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of Lena Chen's small apartment. The alarm rang at 6 sharp, just like every day. Lena groaned, rolled over, and then quickly sat up. Another day, she said to herself, tying her hair into a ponytail. Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend Maggie Ju popped up. Maggie, breakfast at my cafe later? You look like you need coffee even through text. Lena smiled. Maggie always knew. After a quick shower and a simple breakfast of toast, Lena headed to work. The pizza shop was already busy. The smell of dough and cheese filled the air as orders poured in. Lena, your late-night hero, her coworker joked. Manager said you helped someone last night and still finished deliveries. Lena waved her hand awkwardly. It was nothing. But inside, she remembered Ethan again. She wondered briefly if he was okay. Then she shook her head. Just a stranger, she told herself. Across the city, inside a sleek glass building that towered over Riverstone, Ethan Lee stood before a floor-to-ceiling window. Below him, the city looked small. Mr. Lee, the board is unhappy about yesterday, his assistant, Ryan, said carefully. Canceling the meeting without notice. I know, Ethan replied calmly. I'll make it up to them. Ryan hesitated. Sir, is everything all right? Ethan turned around, hands in his pockets. Ryan, have you ever wondered what life is like for ordinary people? Ryan blinked. Ordinary people? Ethan smiled faintly. I want to find out. That afternoon, Lena finished her shift and headed to Maggie's cafe. It was a cozy place with warm lights and soft music. Maggie slid a cup of coffee toward her. You look tired, Maggie said. Long night. Lena nodded. I helped someone in an accident. Nothing serious. Maggie leaned closer, eyes sparkling. Was he handsome? Lena nearly choked on her coffee. Maggie, I'm serious. You only look flustered like this when there's a man involved. He was just normal, Lena said, though her tone betrayed her. Polite. Quiet. Ah, Maggie teased. That's worse. Quiet men are dangerous. They laughed together. Just then, the cafe door opened. A familiar figure walked in, wearing a simple grey hoodie and jeans. Lena froze. No way. Ethan scanned the cafe, then his eyes landed on Lena. For a moment, he looked surprised. Then he smiled. Hi, he said, walking over. Lena, right? Maggie's jaw dropped. You know him? Lena stood up slowly. Ethan. What are you doing here? I was looking for coffee, he replied easily. And maybe, you. Maggie immediately stood. I suddenly remember I have pastries to bake, she said loudly, winking at Lena before disappearing behind the counter. Lena sat back down, heart racing. Are you okay? Your leg. It's fine, Ethan said. Just a minor bruise. Thanks to you. There was a brief silence, slightly awkward but not uncomfortable. You work hard, Ethan said, noticing her uniform bag by the chair. Lena shrugged. Everyone does. He studied her quietly. Unlike the people around him at work, Lena didn't try to impress. She didn't ask questions about his job or background. She just existed honestly. I come here often, Ethan lied smoothly. Mind if I join you sometimes? Lena hesitated. I'm not very interesting. He chuckled. I disagree. From that day on, Ethan started appearing more often. At the cafe. At the pizza shop. Sometimes just standing nearby, watching Lena work. Lena found it strange, but comforting. One evening, Ethan waited outside the pizza shop. Lena stepped out, surprised to see him holding an umbrella. It's raining, he said simply. They walked together under the small umbrella, shoulders brushing. The city lights reflected on wet pavement, just like the night they met. Ethan, Lena said suddenly, what do you do for work? He paused. Business. What kind? Technology, he answered vaguely. She nodded, not pushing further. But as they reached her apartment building, Ethan's phone buzzed. Lena accidentally glimpsed the screen. Ryan, CEO, urgent document needs your approval. Lena frowned slightly. CEO? Ethan reacted quickly, turning the phone face down. Oh, that's a nickname. She laughed lightly, but doubt flickered in her eyes. That night, Lena lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Who are you really, Ethan? And across the city, Ethan stared at his phone, troubled for the first time. He wanted to know Lena's heart, but secrets had a way of surfacing. And when they did, things were never simple. The days that followed felt strangely brighter for Lena. She didn't know when it started, but she began looking forward to seeing Ethan. Sometimes he would appear at the cafe with a quiet smile. Other times, he would wait near the pizza shop, pretending to check his phone. He never rushed her, never demanded attention. He simply existed near her life, like a gentle presence. And that made it dangerous. Lena, Maggie whispered one afternoon, wiping a table, that man is not simple. Lena pretended not to hear. Everyone says that about quiet people. Maggie crossed her arms. No, I mean it. He doesn't dress flashy, but his posture, his eyes. That's not ordinary. Lena sighed. Even if he's special, what does it matter? We live in different worlds. She didn't realize how true that statement was. That evening, Ethan waited outside the pizza shop again. This time, he held 2 tickets. There's a weekend food festival by the river, he said. Would you like to go with me? Lena hesitated. She had never really gone on a date. Life was usually work, sleep, repeat. I work weekends, she said honestly. I checked, Ethan replied. You're off Sunday. She blinked. How do you? Lucky guess, he said quickly, smiling. After a moment, Lena nodded. Okay. Sunday arrived with clear skies and a soft breeze. Lena wore a simple white dress she rarely had the chance to wear. When she saw Ethan waiting by the river, dressed casually but neatly, her heart skipped. You look nice, he said. So do you, she replied, surprised at her own courage. The festival was lively. Food stalls lined the riverbank, music played, and laughter filled the air. Ethan tried street food for the first time in years, grilled skewers, spicy noodles, sweet desserts. This is amazing, he said, genuinely amused. Lena laughed. You've never eaten street food? Not like this, he admitted. Usually it's business dinners. She tilted her head. You really do work a lot. Ethan watched her carefully. Do you ever wish for more? She thought for a moment. Of course. But wishing doesn't change anything. Working does. Her words stayed with him. As they walked along the river, Ethan noticed how Lena stopped to help an elderly vendor pack up, how she gave directions to a lost child without hesitation. She didn't even realize how bright she was. At the same time, across the city, Victor had stood in a high-end restaurant, watching photos on his phone. Photos of Ethan. At the festival. With a woman. Victor smirked. So that's where you've been hiding, Ethan. Back by the river, the sun began to set. The sky turned orange and pink. Lena leaned against the railing, watching the water. Ethan, she said softly, can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really come into my life? He froze for a second. Because, he said slowly, choosing his words carefully, someone reminded me who I am, when I'm not pretending. She looked at him, confused but touched. Before she could say more, a group of men in suits approached. One of them spoke loudly. Mr. Lee. There you are. The chairman has been trying to reach you. Lena stiffened. Mr. Lee? Ethan's jaw tightened. Now isn't the time. The man bowed slightly. It's urgent. Lena took a step back. Ethan. He turned to her, eyes full of apology. Lena, But before he could explain, another passerby whispered loudly, Isn't that Ethan Lee? The CEO of Lee Tech. The words hit Lena like cold water. CEO? Her world tilted. She stared at Ethan, really stared this time. The calm confidence. The way people addressed him. The way the suits waited for his response. You're a CEO, she asked quietly. Ethan swallowed. Yes. Silence stretched between them. So all this time, Lena said, her voice shaking, you were lying? I never lied about how I feel, he said urgently. I just didn't tell you everything. She laughed bitterly. That's the same thing. People around them began to stare. Lena felt exposed, small. I need to go, she said. Lena, please. She stepped back. I don't belong in your world. And then she turned and walked away, blending into the crowd. Ethan stood frozen, watching her disappear just like she had on the rainy night they first met. Except this time, he knew something was breaking. And far away, Victor smiled at his phone. Let's see how strong love is, he murmured, when the truth comes out. Lena didn't go to work the next day. She lay on her bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of her apartment, her mind replaying every moment with Ethan. His smile. His kindness. His careful words. CEO. The word echoed in her head like a cruel joke. So I was entertainment, she whispered to herself. A break from his perfect life. Her phone buzzed again and again. Ethan's name lit up the screen. She turned the phone face down. Across the city, Ethan sat alone in his office. The room was quiet, but his mind was chaos. She won't answer, Ryan said gently. I know, Ethan replied, rubbing his temples. It's my fault. Ryan hesitated. Sir, you've never cared like this before. Ethan looked out the window. Because no one has ever looked at me the way she did. She didn't see power. She saw a man lying on the ground. That evening, Maggie knocked hard on Lena's door. Open up, she shouted. Lena groaned but unlocked it. Maggie walked in, arms crossed. You're avoiding life, Maggie said. That's not you. Lena's eyes burned. He's a CEO, Maggie. I'm a delivery girl. I was stupid. Maggie softened. Did he ever look down on you? Lena shook her head. Then maybe he was scared, Maggie said. Just like you are now. Those words stayed with Lena. The next day, Lena returned to work. Life didn't pause for heartbreak. She delivered pizzas, smiled at customers, and tried to act normal. But whispers followed her. Did you hear? She was seen with Ethan Lee. She must be after his money. Lena clenched her fists. That night, as she stepped out of the shop, Ethan was there. Waiting. Please, he said softly. Just listen. She stopped but didn't look at him. 5 minutes. I hid who I was because everyone treats me differently, he said. You didn't. I wanted something real. And I wasn't real enough to deserve the truth, she asked. He stepped closer. You deserved everything. I was selfish. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. I work hard for every step I take, Lena said. I don't want pity or charity. I never pitied you, Ethan said firmly. I admired you. She finally looked at him. Then respect my space, she said quietly. If you care, prove it without money or power. She walked away. For the first time, Ethan understood what it meant to wait. Days passed. Then weeks. Ethan stopped appearing everywhere. No grand gestures. No flowers. No money. But slowly, things around Lena began to change. The pizza shop received new safety equipment anonymously donated. Maggie's cafe was selected for a small business support program. When Lena's scooter broke down, a mechanic fixed it for free, saying, someone prepaid. Lena knew. But Ethan never showed his face. Then one evening, Victor made his move. A false online article spread, CEO Ethan Lee secretly involved with delivery girl for publicity stunt. Lena's photo was everywhere. She sat on her bed, shaking. A knock came at her door. This time, it was Ethan. I'm sorry, he said. This is my world hurting you. She looked at him, fear and strength mixing in her eyes. Then don't run, she said. Stand with me. Ethan nodded. I will. For the first time, they faced the storm together. And love, though wounded, wasn't gone. It was waiting to grow stronger. The next morning, Lena woke up to dozens of notifications. Her phone felt heavy in her hands. Messages from unknown numbers. Comments online. Some curious. Some cruel. She's just using him. Typical poor girl story. She doesn't belong in his world. Lena sat quietly on the edge of her bed. Her chest felt tight, but her mind was clear in a way it had never been before. She wasn't ashamed. She got dressed, tied her hair neatly, and went to work. At the pizza shop, the manager pulled her aside. "Lena, there's a lot of attention right now. If you want time off." "No," Lena said calmly. "I'll work." Her co-workers looked at her differently now. Some sympathetic, some distant. Lena didn't explain herself. She focused on the dough, the orders, the rhythm of work that had always grounded her. That afternoon, Ethan held a press meeting at Lee Tech. Reporters filled the room. Cameras flashed. Victor stood near the back, watching carefully. Ethan stepped up to the podium. He didn't smile. "I will address the rumors directly," he said, voice steady. "Lena Chen is not part of any publicity plan. She is not a tool, and she is not someone to be judged by her job." The room quieted. "She saved my life before she knew who I was," Ethan continued. "Everything that followed was my choice. If anyone is at fault, it is me." Reporters murmured. "I ask that the public respect her privacy," he finished. "And if you cannot, then criticize me, not her." Victor's smile faded. That evening, Ethan didn't go to Lena's apartment. He remembered her words. "Stand with me." So instead, he stood publicly and waited privately. A week later, Lena's mother called from their hometown. "Lena," her mother said worriedly, "people here are talking. Are you okay?" Lena swallowed. "I'm okay, Mom. I promise." After the call, Lena sat alone in the small park near her apartment. Maggie joined her, handing her a warm drink. "You know," Maggie said, "a year ago you were worried about paying rent. Now you're teaching half the internet about dignity." Lena smiled weakly. "I didn't choose this." "No," Maggie said. "But you're handling it." That night, Lena made a decision. She messaged Ethan. "Lena, meet me tomorrow. After work." No reporters. Ethan stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Ethan, I'll be there." They met on the same quiet street where they first met. The sign had been fixed. The sidewalk looked ordinary now. "I don't want protection," Lena said directly. "I want honesty." Ethan nodded. "Then I'll give you everything." "I won't quit my job," she said. "I wouldn't ask you to." "I won't hide," she continued. "I'll stand beside you," he said. She looked at him for a long moment. "And no more secrets." "Never again." At that moment, Victor watched from across the street. His plan hadn't worked. Instead of breaking Ethan, it had made him stronger. So he pushed harder. The next day, Lee Tech's biggest project was suddenly accused of illegal practices. Stocks dropped. The board panicked. Victor stood in the boardroom, calm and prepared. "Perhaps we need new leadership." Ethan understood immediately. This wasn't just business anymore. That night, Lena found Ethan sitting alone in his office, lights dim. "Are you afraid?" she asked gently. He nodded. "Yes. But not of losing money." She took his hand. "Then don't face it alone." Ethan looked at her, truly looked at her. In all his years of power, no one had ever chosen him without fear. Lena had. And that gave him courage. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that two people from different worlds were quietly choosing each other, not because it was easy, but because it was right. The storm wasn't over. But now, they were standing in it together. The crisis hit Lee Tech like a tidal wave. News channels replayed the same headline again and again. Lee Tech under investigation, CEO Ethan Lee faces leadership challenge. Inside the company, tension filled every corridor. Employees whispered. The board demanded answers. Stock prices trembled with every rumor. Ethan stood at the center of it all, calm on the outside, exhausted within. Victor sat confidently across the boardroom table, fingers interlocked. "Ethan, emotions don't run companies. Maybe it's time you step aside for the good of Lee Tech." Ethan looked around the room. Faces he had known for years avoided his eyes. Then he spoke. I built LeTech from nothing but an idea and a team, Ethan said steadily. If you believe rumors over truth, then this company has already lost its way. Victor smiled thinly. Then prove the truth. Outside that world of glass and power, Lena faced her own battle. Customers recognized her now. Some smiled kindly. Others stared. But Lena kept delivering pizzas, rain or shine. She refused to be erased or elevated by someone else's status. One night, while delivering to an office building, she overheard two employees talking. Victor leaked those documents himself. Yeah, but no one can prove it. Lena stopped walking. That night, she told Ethan everything. Instead of stopping her, Ethan listened. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Lena looked at him. I won't let lies decide your future. Just like I won't let them decide mine. Using Maggie's help and a few honest employees who believed in Ethan, they gathered proof emails, recorded meetings, financial trails Victor had hidden carefully. It wasn't money or power that helped them. It was people. On the day of the emergency shareholders meeting, the room was packed. Victor stood ready, confident this was his victory. Ethan entered calmly. But he wasn't alone. Lena walked in beside him. Gasps rippled through the room. Victor's smile froze. Ethan didn't speak first. Lena did. I'm not here as anyone's weakness, she said clearly. I'm here because the truth deserves to be heard. She handed over the evidence. One by one, Victor's lies unraveled. Silence fell. Then chaos. Security escorted Victor out as he shouted excuses no one listened to anymore. The board turned to Ethan. Mr. Lee, the chairman said slowly, we owe you an apology. Ethan didn't look proud. He looked relieved. Later that night, Ethan and Lena stood on the rooftop of the LeTech building. The city stretched endlessly below them, bright and alive. It's over, Ethan said softly. Lena smiled. Not over. Just settled. He turned to her. I want to make something clear. I don't want to pull you into my world. She met his eyes. Good. Because I don't want to escape mine. He laughed quietly. Then walk with me. Weeks later, life found a new rhythm. Lena enrolled in evening business classes not because Ethan asked, but because she wanted to grow. Ethan learned how to cook instant noodles and failed badly. They argued. They laughed. They learned. One evening, Ethan stood outside the pizza shop where Lena still worked part-time. He held no flowers. No ring. Just honesty. Lena Chen, he said, voice steady but eyes nervous, I don't promise luxury. I promise respect. Partnership. And a future we build together. Lena stepped closer. I don't need a CEO, she said softly. I need Ethan. He smiled, the real one, not the polished one. Then she kissed him. Months later, Lena opened a small community food business with Maggie, supported, but never controlled, by Ethan's company. At the opening event, a reporter asked Lena, "What's your greatest achievement?" Lena looked at Ethan, then at the people around her. I didn't change who I was, she said. I believed in myself. That night, as they walked home hand in hand, Lena laughed. Funny, isn't it? Ethan raised an eyebrow. What is? I saved a man with a pizza delivery, she said. And found a life. Ethan squeezed her hand. No. You saved us both. Above them, the city lights shimmered, modern, busy, imperfect. Just like love. And this time, it wasn't unexpected. It was chosen.